Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. We're here at the Bitcoin.com studio. That is the Bitcoin.com studio. Joining us now is Mike Benz, the Foundation for Freedom Online. You can find him on X at Mike Benz Cyber. Mike, we're going to try to get through as much as we can with you. Mike, let's just start with the facts for those people that were enjoying a Sunday evening. You see, this is how perverse this all is. Here I am on this beautiful Sunday evening, and the sun is setting, and the Cubs are up 11-0 at Wrigley Field on Sunday Night Baseball against the wretched St. Louis Cardinals. My phone is lighting up like a Christmas tree all about Epstein. I said, whoever is responsible for this will be forever scorned in my life. I said, I had a beautiful Sunday evening. The Cubs are finally good for the first time in a decade, and my daughter's watching the Cubs, and I have to worry about Epstein. So what is it that got me so distracted away from the Cubs up 11-0 against the St. Louis Cardinals? Mike Benz.
Well, we don't fully know yet because this is all happening both quickly and then kind of no official word. This is basically an Axios exclusive that published what they said was and the official results of the Justice Department investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, with the Justice Department concluding that Epstein killed himself, that Epstein had no client list, and that effectively there was no further investigations pending into the Epstein affair, at least related to many of these key issues that so many people have been concerned about for the past several decades now, but especially since 2019. Particularly, I think the new information on there after what the FBI has been saying is the idea that there's no client list, that there's that effectively the reference to that Pam Bondi made earlier this year, that the Jeffrey Epstein client list was sitting on her desk for review, that it actually did not exist at all, is what that document suggests. Now, what's interesting is we don't know how official that is from Axios. They posted a DOJ document on their news article write-up, and then within hours of uploading it, they removed the document from the article. Now, I don't know if that's because of a potential legal action from the Justice Department against them. It does not appear that the Justice Department gave them this exclusive, I should say, because there's no quotes from senior DOJ officials around it. There's not, to my knowledge, been official acknowledgement by the Justice Department of this Axios report. But effectively, the internet pulled the document before Axios deleted it, and now this appears to be
So really quick. So Mike, let's assume that it's real, because the reason why I think it might be real is no one has publicly come out and said it's not. So we haven't seen like a, hey, we're going after a leaker type thing. So let's just assume, you might be right, that it's real. What did we learn? They said that there is no client list, but we're not getting the victims list. Will there be any files disclosed? And also talk about the comment on how Jeffrey Epstein died.
Right. Well, this now gives a Justice Department ratification, assuming that this is all true. This gives a Justice Department ratification to what we've heard from the FBI for the past several months, that Epstein killed himself. And this coming from the Justice Department is much, much bigger than it coming from the FBI. The FBI is the investigative arm of the Justice Department, but the Justice Department is really the keeper of all information. The elephant in the room around the Epstein story has always been the Justice Department's 2008 sweetheart deal with Jeffrey Epstein, where the senior DOJ official, Alex Acosta, reportedly said that he was, quote, told to back off Epstein because he belonged to intelligence. That was then effectively, left a giant neutron bomb in Washington about how all of the potential child sex trafficking and Wall Street deal making and sort of covert arms dealing and everything that else that Epstein was involved in went much bigger than one kind of perverted megalomaniac figure, but was rather tied to the highest levels of power in Washington, D.C. Now, at the time, the head of the Justice Department, Bill Barr, when Epstein died, was not only personally connected to the Epstein affair through Donald Barr, Bill Barr's father, who, of course, was with Jeffrey Epstein at the Dalton School. Donald Barr was a part of the founding of the Central Intelligence Agency, and Bill Barr himself began his career, his first 7 years at the CIA. So there's been lingering questions for this Justice Department being more independent from those networks to be able to get answers. Now, effectively, there really has been none on that side of it. There's no supporting evidence that's provided in this Axios leak about the contents of what was reviewed. For example, we don't know what conversations Pam Bondi may have had or not had with John Ratcliffe, the CIA director. We don't know what search queries were put into CIA files or cables with reference to Epstein or the network. Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who was reportedly made that statement about Epstein belonging to intelligence, and then when he was questioned about it, when he became a cabinet secretary official as the head of the Department of Labor for the Trump administration, publicly when he was questioned about it, he said he could neither confirm nor deny, which I think everyone thought was about as shady as it gets. And then a very strange Justice Department Office of Professional Responsibility investigation only relegated the intelligence question to a single footnote where they reportedly asked Acosta a kind of tangential leading question saying, did you have knowledge that Epstein was an intelligence asset? Acosta said no, but that's a very easy no if you don't have firsthand knowledge. Any lawyer would tell you answer only the question that you're asked, not
So
not any
really quick,
color
Mike,
on it.
we have a break. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off because your commentary is always phenomenal. But is it true that there's a missing safe from Jeffrey Epstein after the FBI raid? Is that correct?
I don't know about the contents of that. I've read essentially secondhand reports on it. I don't know about what the FBI's knowledge on that is. And part of this is we're all operating in a vacuum because there's been no real transparency. When Tulsi Gabbard did the JFK files drop, they put 80,000 documents in a giant WikiLeaks style index and said, Internet, have at it. And that, I think, was a phenomenal example of how you at least engage with the public. Even if the answers are not satisfactory, you're at least showing your work. Here are the files that we saw. Now you see them. Come to your own conclusion. Here's our conclusion. This was not been done in the Epstein case. We're getting, trust me, we've made this determination without any supporting files.
Well, and I know very little about, again, I know the people involved. I know Cash, I know Bongino, I know Pam Bondi. So I tilt towards trust. But do you trust what we're being told here, Mike?
Well, the issue is I don't operate on trust. I think that Cash and Dan are phenomenal, and I don't think that this is an FBI thing, frankly. I think that when you're talking about the foreign intelligence networks that Epstein was involved in since 1981, this is his whole story.
Well,
runs
but
through
let's
CIA.
just but do you mean Israeli intelligence, Saudi intelligence? What do you think he was likely a attaché for?
I think you have a global network here that spans the Central Intelligence Agency in the U.S., that spans British intelligence, Israeli intelligence, Saudi intelligence. How does Jeffrey Epstein go to be the primary financial embezzler, but the embezzler for Adnan Khashoggi, the guy who personally negotiated and fronted the money for the arms for hostages when we were running missiles to Iran? During the Iran-Contra scandal.
Look, an even better argument, that's a good one, is that this guy goes from a math teacher to living a multiple billionaire type lifestyle with some of the most incredible real estate ever. And no one has any records of trades from this guy, ever.
Adnan Khashoggi worked directly with the Central Intelligence Agency for all of it. The head of the BCCI bank testified to that in person during that scandal's emergence.
If your portfolio is over $250,000 and you aren't hedged, you are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Markets are at all-time highs, but history shows, you know what comes next: volatility and increased risk. A 10% allocation to gold and silver can help hedge uncertainty and protect your wealth. Noble Gold Investments makes it easy to hedge your portfolio with institutional-grade gold and silver. Right now, every qualified investment will receive a free 10-ounce gold coin and protect your portfolio today. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So, Mike, I think that you and I both believe that he had some sort of relationship with foreign intelligence and maybe domestic intelligence. There's just no way he was able to get that magnitude of wealth that quickly. With being a vastly unimpressive person when you met him in person. I never met him, but a lot of people met him that I know that, of course, were not involved in his whole scheme. And they just said, this guy's underwhelming. Like, this guy was not some sort of brainiac. He was kind of just very crass and very obviously into women. That was his whole thing. But so here's my question, Mike. Why the shift where we were told there was a client list and now it doesn't exist? Was that a rhetorical misstep, or do you think it suggests something else?
Well, it is very possible that Pam Bondi was referring to the so-called Little Black Book, which was partially admitted into evidence during the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and that referred to contacts and addresses rather than a formal client list. I think that is possible. But to me, the great unanswered question here is, why are we asking about the FBI when we should be talking about the CIA and getting answers on that question? Because the CIA question will get you to the foreign intelligence aspects. There's simply no way on planet Earth that the Central Intelligence Agency does not have documents at least referencing Jeffrey Epstein, given that his whole life story for the 30 years preceding his death was a CIA story. Jeffrey Epstein was in the middle of Iran-Contra, the CIA operation to run guns to the Nicaraguan Contras and to funnel arms to Iran in illicit, covert arms dealings with Adnan Khashoggi as the middleman, and Jeffrey Epstein was the financial fixer for that. It was Jeffrey Epstein who personally negotiated the transfer of the CIA's proprietary airline, Air America, which became Southern Air Transport, after it was busted doing covert CIA drug and gun trafficking. It moved from Miami, where Epstein had one home, to Columbus, Ohio, where Epstein had the other while he was working for Les Wexner.
Yes, that's right.
Exactly.
The Columbus is totally Wexner. And Wexner, by the way, very well, might also have foreign intelligence ties. I mean, very well.
That's a CIA proprietary airline that Jeffrey Epstein negotiated to do that. And from his ties to the gun running world to the entire gamut of international affairs, from the Safari Club, all of this is. But the fact is why don't we have anything from Pam Bondi
I know,
about what was queried from CIA?
Here's what I'm told that these are all under seal from the judge. But can't the Department of Justice move to unseal things that were put under seal? Isn't that technically the way that this could potentially be brought to the public? Because I think we need mass disclosure. I think we need more information. At least for my under 30 crowd, I know my demo. They are volcanic over this whole thing. And by the way, the over 60 crowd, they're like, Epstein, whatever, not a big deal. No, but under 30, can you explain that to our audience too, Mike? The hyper online under 30 crowd, this is a major, major issue.
Well, because if you can get away with this, you can get away with anything. This was so in your face. You're talking about mass child sex trafficking with a little St. James Island in broad daylight that everyone you know and love and see on TV is going there. And if even that person is given a sweetheart deal by the Justice Department, is family friends with two attorney generals, Bill Barr and John Mitchell. John Mitchell was the head of the Justice Department for Richard Nixon, who personally introduced Jeffrey Epstein to Adnan Khashoggi to do the CIA gun running during Iran-Contra. If at the end of that you don't get a single CIA file on this guy, despite having reported testimony from the head of the Justice Department, where now 11 months of his emails go missing, his DOJ.gov emails go missing as soon as the DOJ starts investigating, and to have no transparent. I mean, this is supposed to be the most transparent administration ever. It looked like when Tulsi was doing the JFK files, it looked like that was supposed to be a kind of prelude to the disclosures we were going to get on Epstein. And it may be the case that Epstein killed himself. It may be the case that there's, no client list, so to speak. But I want to see what they see. You can show us the intelligence files.
There's so many layers here. We got to go. And Mike, you're doing an amazing job here. There's so many layers. What I am most interested in is the cover up. And look, are there a bunch of rich slobs in Palm Beach? Not Donald Trump, obviously, because if Donald Trump would have been on here, they would have leaked it. Are there a bunch of rich slobs in Palm Beach that were probably involved in some really sultry, beneath the table, disgusting sex stuff with Epstein? Yes. Yeah, that's not like breaking news. More importantly, and I think you're onto something, was he used as an instrument of domestic or foreign intelligence and was then used against our own country, and for what purpose? That's the question. Mike Benz, we'll have to have you on another time. Great work.